Welcome to the Couch Scouts Podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the Couch Scouts Podcast. I am your host, Matt Cooper. With me are my co-hosts, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, my man?
And Matt Jackson.
What's going on, guys?
Well, a lot has been going on. I feel like I'm still trying to catch up on sleep from last weekend. But
have we done one or two podcasting last week? Is that what happened?
Yeah, a few. So the NFL draft is officially in the books. And if you have been living under a rock and don't know, there's a lot that happened that's relevant to your dynasty leagues. And yeah, we got you covered. So we had podcast day 1 reactions, day 2 reactions. We did a post NFL draft rookie mock that released the same night as day 3 ended. So you got kind of immediate data points on who's going where and when we would take who rose for us, who fell for us to an extent, right? So obviously you got all of our reactions in the moment. But tonight, what we're going to be doing is we've had some time to reflect. We've had some time to really go through and actually adjust our rankings and see where the chips fell. And I don't know about you guys, Jackson and Rupert, but for me, I feel like my rankings changed more this year after the NFL draft than they ever have in the past. And so we'll get into tonight to talking about some of why that happened.
Oh,
but
for sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, with if you are inside the prospect series, since we've been doing that since December, you probably know that a lot of our rankings were pretty close. I mean, we had, 14 or 15 guys within a point or two of each other. Like it was ridiculous. The landing spot made a huge difference, and no, I'm right there with you. Adjusted my ranks way more than I did last year.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe that's something to do with like running backs get more affected by the draft than other positions, and so this was a heavy running back year. There's a lot of reasons for it. Some of our running backs that we didn't hate, but they were a little bit lower compared to other guys. Got really great draft capital and really good landing spots. And then some others that we absolutely loved, they got nuked a little bit, right? So there was a lot to adjust to, a lot to react. And so tonight's episode, we're going to be going through some of our biggest post-draft risers and biggest post-draft fallers from all 3 days of the draft, from for just in general rookie rankings, like who rose the most, who fell the most. And I think it's going to be a valuable, insightful episode for you guys. So let's get it started. We're going to start with our with a riser. And Rupert, I'll throw it to you first. Who is your biggest riser from the NFL draft?
Personally, one of my biggest risers is Caleb Johnson. He was a guy that we didn't hate, but we didn't love either. We were quite lower on our rankings of him compared to consensus from most of the stuff that I've seen. And I said in our analysis, I feel like he's the guy that's in that top 10 to top 15, to where he's probably going to be the most scheme dependent, where he needs the great landing spot that knows how to use them, that's going to feed him 20 carries a game. And boy, did he get the perfect spot and go into the Steelers. Arthur Smith loves to, use a workhorse back. I think their run scheme fits him very well, with being able to run power and outside zone and give him those running lanes where he can get up to speed. And then to me, I feel like he's a much better player than Jaylen Warren. So I could totally see him getting those 20 plus carries a game that he would need to be a fantasy stud. So he's a guy that I think we even comped him to Najee Harris, and they basically got their replacement for him. He's probably not going to be a super efficient runner, but I think he's going to get enough carries to where and touchdowns to where he's going to be a fantasy starter.
Yeah, so Najee, I think he's probably got a little more juice than Najee in terms of
definitely.
breakaway speed and big playability. I don't know that he's quite the pass catcher that Najee was, but Jalen Warren probably keeps that role anyway. Najee was not catching a ton of passes the last few years since they added Jalen Warren. So I do think he slots pretty much into that role, maybe a little bit more upside, but probably a solid RB2. We had him graded as a flex option. So even though it's like you guys mentioned earlier, we had so many running backs that were within a point or two of each other. So I think the pushback for us on Caleb was always him being talked about as this like top 4 or 5 guy, first round ADP. And I still don't feel that way about him. We're going to talk about my guys and fades later tonight, so I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say that he's got a 10th overall ADP right now, according to what I'm seeing. And that's still he has risen for me a good bit from where I had him pre-draft, but I still don't have him that high. So we'll talk more about that on the bonus show tonight for our members. But yeah, you're right. He's a big riser. Jackson, who's your biggest riser from NFL draft?
Yeah, so my biggest riser was Trey Harris, the new wide receiver for the Chargers. He was a guy that we liked a substantial amount this offseason when we were scouting. Loved his ball skills, his ability to pluck away from his frame. We thought he was a plus graded athlete, and especially when it came to his physicality, his hand fighting. And we thought we saw potential there in his route running, especially when we were looking at, middle to deeper routes. So looking at, Trey Harris, could you have gotten a better landing spot than the Chargers? You're paired with Justin Herbert for the next few years. His skill set almost feels like it complements Ladd McConkey so well. Ladd McConkey is that explosive, underneath, just extreme precise route runner, and Trey Harris is that physical route runner, physical receiver, X mold that dominates the outside. I just think those two are going to pair so well off of each other. And I mean, when you're tied to Justin Herbert, I mean, he was honestly my biggest riser in this draft class. And I'm seeing him get drafted right now. When I look at ADP, he's currently sitting at overall 16th, wide receiver 6. So you're getting him in the top to middle of the second round, your rookie drafts. And I love that value for Trey Harris. I'm taking that all day. So yeah, Trey Harris, wide receiver out of for the Chargers, is my biggest riser.
Yeah, you were higher on him than I was to begin with. I had him in the low 71s on my film grade, and you were closer to a 74. So to me, I love the landing spot, and he did rise in my rankings because of the landing spot. I'm still concerned that he's talent-wise more in the Cedric Tillman type of range, like your non-elite X receiver that is just okay. And I do think he complements Ladd really well. Everything you said, there's nothing I disagree with except that, I'm a little bit wary of overdrafting a player whose talent I was lukewarm on just because of the landing spot. But I do think you mentioned the 16th ADP in my rookie rankings. I have him at 18. So I'm not he's not a total fade for me. I think I will probably come away with some shares. Not quite as bullish on him probably as you are. So for me, my biggest riser, this is kind of the obvious one, RJ Harvey, right? So RJ Harvey goes from an ADP not an ADP, rather. In my rankings, I believe I had him at 31st. So early third round, all the way up to 15th, which is, early second round. So that's a huge jump. Obviously, the second round draft capital was a really big surprise. the landing spot is pretty ideal with Sean Payton and his history of how he uses running backs from a fantasy perspective. Obviously, Sean Payton loved him because he went and reached on his guy. So there's a lot to like there for RJ Harvey. I'm probably still not going to be quite as high as consensus on him. But 31 to 15 is a huge jump. So he's a major riser coming off the draft. And then the other one, I wanted to give a shout out to a guy that I actually am really in on at cost, and that's Jackson Dart. So Jackson Dart, I think we ranked him pretty conservatively because we weren't sure if he was going to get first round draft capital, which is such a big deal for quarterbacks in particular. But then, the Giants, who really are they're in need of a franchise quarterback. Russell Wilson can be a decent bridge guy, but they're in need of a franchise quarterback. And then they trade up to go get him at 25 and get that 5th-year option on him. He's got the rushing upside for fantasy. So, I think he could present a value at an ADP of, I think 14th is his ADP. I've got him ranked now at 11th in my rankings, which he was at 18. So he's risen a fair bit for me from a mid to late second round guy to a late first round guy. And I don't know if the market has even quite adjusted enough on him yet, being a first round quarterback with rushing upside. So
yeah, I love the Jackson Dart call. And I will say with RJ Harvey, he was a big riser for all of us. Going back to kind of what you said, Cooper, about Caleb Johnson, I don't see myself having any shares of RJ Harvey. He's currently going in ADP at 12th right now. And I've been in a few drafts where he's gone anywhere from the 7 to 10 range. And that is such an expensive price for me. I get the landing spot is juicy, but again, like you said with, Trey Harris, for a guy that we were kind of lukewarm on, that 7 to 12, wherever you're getting him in a rookie draft is expensive. And I don't know if I'm paying that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's a really good player, but I feel like people keep on forgetting that he's going to be 25 real soon. So keep that in mind in your rookie drafts.
Yep. So we're going to get to our post-draft fallers in just a minute here. But before we do, I wanted to take a second to talk to you guys about CouchScouts.com. Joining the Couch Scouts family. You might know that we have a website. Hopefully you do if you've been listening for a while. If you're new, welcome. We're glad that you're here. And we have a lot of great value, I think, on the website. For as little as $5 a month, you can go in there. You can get the rookie guide, which is over 73 prospects. We're going to be adding a few more this week. So a couple of guys that fell through the cracks in our volume 2 release that got some decent draft capital. I don't think any major names, but there'll be 2 or 3 guys that we add profiles on this week. But we're already over 73 prospects in there. There's detailed scouting reports, film grades, pre-draft and post-draft rankings, color-coded by tier. I mean, everything you need for the ultimate cheat sheet for your rookie guide, for your rookie draft, rather. And another thing a lot of people are taking advantage of right now, one-on-one consultations. You can get in, if you're a Scout Potato member on our website, you can book a 30-minute Zoom call with one of us where we will go in detail with you over a dynasty roster of your choosing and talk strategy and help you formulate a plan for your draft, for attacking that. Bonus podcast, we're going to be talking about our my guys and our fades on the podcast tonight for members. So there's so much value packed into that for just $5. And we've seen guys in our Discord. We've got a free Discord that you should join. Click the link in the show notes. But guys in our Discord, it seems like every minute are posting, I'm on the clock. I've got this decision. Who should I take? I'm feeling a little stressed. And it's like, man, spend the $5. Save yourself the stress. We got you covered. We put countless hours of research into this thing. And I think the value is an absolute steal. So CouchScouts.com, book a package for $5 a month or save 15% on an annual subscription. Hope you guys will sign up today and join the Couch Scouts family. If you enjoy the podcast, obviously we do the podcast for free. Our Discord's free. But we want to ask everybody, like, if you love what we're doing and you want to keep the lights on around here, like, consider buying a package on the website. And right now we are reinvesting all of that money that we're making right back into the product. So, over the next year, I think you're going to see us continuing to add resources and tools to make it even better value for you guys. So definitely get in on the Couch Scouts family. And with all that being said, let's get into some post-draft fallers for us, and I will throw it to you first, Rupert. Who is your biggest post-draft faller?
I don't know if it was the biggest faller, but it's the one that I felt like hurt the most for me. It's a player that I really just loved watching his film, and that's Damian Martinez. Shockingly to me, he ends up going in 7th round. To me, I saw a late second, kind of 3rd round talent. And I didn't hear of any kind of off the field issues or injuries or things like that. But I just was really shocked that he ended up falling all the way to the 7th round. And then he goes to the Seattle Seahawks, where he's kind of buried behind Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. Granted, I think he's a lot better player than Charbonnet. So he has a chance to kind of take the 2nd spot there. But yeah, it's just a disappointing fall for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't usually. I mean, you saw, like, if you were with us last year, okay, so we had Bucky Irving pretty high in our rankings. He fell to day 3. We dropped him a little bit, but we still liked round 4. We still liked the landing spot, all that kind of stuff. Round 7 is a totally different animal, right? Javon Baker, we really liked last year. Obviously, that didn't pan out for us. We didn't drop him a crazy amount in our rankings, again, because he still went round 4, still to a landing spot where there's a path to opportunity, all that kind of stuff. We try as best we can to, like, stick to our guns with, we trust what we saw on tape. We're not trying to just throw everything out the window because of the draft. But in some cases, you just got to go, like, look, he's 3rd on the depth chart. The hit rate on 7th round picks is so abysmal. And so, yeah, it's rare, I think, ever for me to have a player that drops this much. But with Martinez, you're talking about a guy that we had 17th in our composite rankings between the 3 of us pre-draft, dropped all the way to 43rd. So that's a plummet from, like, early to mid 2nd round all the way to, like, maybe take a 4th round shot on him, and I feel gross about it. So yeah, that was a pretty obvious call out, I think, there. If people know our rankings, which not everybody does. So for us, it feels like an obvious one. For other people, maybe not. So Jackson, I'll go to you next. Who is a huge faller for you coming off the NFL draft?
So not as huge of a faller as Damian Martinez, but this one still hurt a lot. And I feel like it hurt you too, Cooper. So I'm going to talk about it. But it was Dylan Sampson. We had him graded at 14 in our pre-draft rankings. Top of the 2nd round, fell all the way to 24 for us. Got 4th round capital to the Browns. The Browns just drafted Quinshon Judkins. It's like maybe it's a Thunder and Lightning pairing, but it's not the best landing spot. He's somebody that was super elusive. We loved his patience. We loved his vision. I was honestly thinking, like, there's no way that Dylan Sampson doesn't get day 2 capital.
Mm-hmm.
So this one hurt a lot. I was surprised when we were doing our day 2 roundup show last week that Dylan Sampson was still on the board. I thought he was that good of a prospect, and I still think he's going to get some play in Cleveland. I think they'll do kind of a 1-2 punch with them, but it's not the kind of 1-2 punch. It's not the kind of backfield situation that I wanted Dylan Sampson to have. I mean, just not a great landing spot, not really great draft capital for somebody that I know me and you at least, Cooper, I just absolutely love the film.
Yeah,
I love the film too, so don't leave me out there.
Peter agrees. So my guy Peter
Same.
Bartowski, he's one of my coworkers at Dynasty Nerds. He says Dylan Sampson made me cry with that landing spot, and yeah, it's
Same,
tough.
Peter.
I haven't dropped him to the extent of, like, a Martinez. Like, I still have a late 2nd round ranking on him. and you can probably get him in the 3rd round. So I think, like, I'm not out on Dylan Sampson. Obviously, the draft capital is way better for Judkins, but I've got the two, Judkins and Sampson, like, graded really, really similarly as prospects, and I think they complement each other super well. I think they'll both be on the field, and Sampson's going to he's going to make the explosive plays. I think he's going to get the PPR touches. So I definitely think Sampson can still be a good fantasy asset, but certainly if he had been the guy to go like 2nd round to the Broncos or 3rd round to the Steelers instead of Johnson and Harvey, this is a guy that we would be like, all aboard, let's go. I'm, hyper targeting this guy. And it just didn't work out that way. So I think that's a good call out. For me, I'm going to mention 2 guys, and it kind of feels like cheating a little bit because these guys both went undrafted, but Isaiah Bond and Daniel Jackson. So Daniel Jackson, we kind of suspected that could happen and that he might have to take the Adam Thielen path.
Didn't hurt any less.
It didn't hurt any less, even though we suspected that it might happen. I was still like holding out hope for a day 3 spot. Like Torrey Horton goes round 5 to the Seahawks, where there's like a chance for somebody to start there opposite. There's an opportunity for a 3rd guy to eventually become a 2nd guy when Kupp kind of ages out. And, so let's say Daniel Jackson goes round 5 to the Seahawks instead of Torrey Horton. I would have been so pumped. But undrafted and then signing with the Texans, who drafted both Higgins and Jalen Noel and already have Nico Collins and Christian Kirk, it's like that's a really uphill battle. So he dropped a good ways down my rankings. And I don't think anybody's going to draft him in a rookie draft. So I'm still personally, in every league that I'm in, going to go make a waiver claim on him after the draft. But definitely he fell down my rankings a good bit. And then the other one, Isaiah Bond, like clearly these off the field concerns are pretty serious. We knew that he had been arrested and it was like, it's always the innocent till proven guilty thing. So you're like, did what's really going on there? How serious is it? There's a lot of information that NFL teams have, probably that we don't have. But yeah, he fell all the way down to undrafted, which was, and still hasn't signed with the team as a UDFA, which tells me a lot. So I don't know that I can in good conscience draft him anymore. He was a guy that I had a 2nd round ranking on pre-draft. And I don't think I can touch him in a rookie draft if I haven't seen him sign with the team yet. So those are 2 guys that fell down pretty far for me. Y'all have anything you want to add? I know you guys loved Daniel Jackson too.
Yeah, no, he was one of those guys that, we knew he would go undrafted. And we were kind of factoring that in a little bit, but we were also sitting here just saying, just give the guy a shot, right? Like if he can get a shot, he's going to run away with it. And like you kind of mentioned, I think he landed with a team where I'm not sure that he has a shot. I mean, you've got 4 wide receivers, at worst ahead of him. They seem like they had the contingency plan right after Nico Collins and Christian Kirk Lee. They're going to fill that in with Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Maybe if he waits it out, he becomes wide receiver 3, but you're playing such a long game at that point that like, I don't really feel like he has a shot. So that one, like I said, didn't make it hurt any less because we saw it coming, but still stings a little bit because his film, as you've listened to, if you have subbed to the side on our bonus show, was phenomenal. Then going back to, Isaiah Bond, that off the field stuff matters. I mean, we kind of saw, we saw not that it was an off the field issue, right? But it was an interview issue with Shedeur Sanders, and it was kind of getting frozen out of the league. I mean, this stuff matters to NFL GMs.
Well, yeah, and we had dropped Bond because the news about his off field stuff came out before the draft, and so we had dropped him from like mid 2nd to late 2nd. But we didn't want to like overreact because we didn't know all the details. We didn't know, maybe he still goes round 2 or whatever. But Yeah, obviously, whatever is going on there is a huge, huge deal because it's keeping him off of an NFL roster. And you can't score fantasy points if you're not on an NFL roster. So, and with Daniel Jackson, I will say he's still going to be somebody I'm monitoring closely. Like maybe he's a guy that ends up, he goes through training camp with the Texans, gets cut in the preseason, signs on a practice squad somewhere else that has a thinner wide receiver depth chart, and then somebody gets hurt or something. Like Jalen Coker last year obviously was a guy that, was on a thin wide receiver depth chart. Some injuries happened in front of him. He got a chance to get on the field, and I'm still holding out hope that Daniel Jackson gets that kind of an opportunity somewhere. But like you said, doesn't look like it's going to be with the Texans. So, that's all we got for this week. Some of our risers and fallers based on the NFL draft. If you want to know who are our my guys, now that we have a little bit of ADP information, who's our my guys that we're planting our flag on and saying I'm going to draft a bunch of shares at this price, and who are our fades? Who are we saying like no way I'm touching this guy? He's so overrated. Avoid him at all costs. We're covering that on the bonus show for our Couch Scouts members. So definitely. If you're a member, check that out. If you're not, come sign up and jump in our Discord. Again, I mentioned that earlier. It's totally free. There's a ton of guys reacting, giving advice in real time in there. It's a great community, a lot of awesome people. And really, we made it just to get to know the people that listen to our show. There's no strings attached. So jump in the free Discord. The link is in the show notes. Drop us a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you're using. And appreciate you guys giving us a listen, and we'll see you next week. Peace.